Are any of you involved in education in any way? Okay, all those who can raise your hands. This is Ed Summit. Ed Summit. The big question I have for you is, what principles are you following when you're doing your training, when you're doing your education? Is it based on fad? I mean, that's what this guy's doing. How's that going? Opinion. A lot of people have opinions about the way we should do our training. And of course, there's the politics. You know, if you want to get along here, this is how we do it. And then there's also just tradition. This is the way I've always done it, and I say we keep doing it. We have a strong tradition here. What we're going to talk about today is the most important thing, and that is to make sure that our training is based on evidence. What are our improvements? This is bizarre. They put in a relevant, contextually important photograph, and they get a 65% improvement. This is the biggest one of all the research. 65% improvement's off the charts. It's like novice to expert by just having the right graphics. So what are the right graphics, you might add? So here's our text again, and I'm thinking, okay, so I want it to be engaging, right? Engaging is important. So I want a graphic that'll be interesting, something to do with light bulbs, because this is about light bulbs. So who's that? It's Thomas Edison. What did Thomas Edison do? He invented the light bulb. What a better connection could there be than Thomas Edison, the inventor of the light bulb, and some stuff about a light bulb? Yeah, maybe it would have helped to label it. Could have said Thomas Edison, inventor of the light bulb. Okay, so now we label. Thomas Edison's good. Thomas Edison, inventor of the light bulb. Now we got a strong connection. Now they're engaged. Now they're going to learn when they're reading. But it may have created a few problems. It turns out that learning is suppressed when we use a wrong graphic that may be engaging, it might be interesting, but what are they going to try to reference as they read that? Now what does working memory have to do? I have to make a correlation. I have to make a correlation between that and Thomas Edison and hold that in my mind. Okay, he's about 85 there, and I think he invented the light bulb when he was like 45, no, it was 51, I think. And the poor mind is trying to deal with all that in this limited working space. Okay, maybe that's not the, maybe what we need is a picture that's just so involving and engaging that it will really hold their attention, because light bulbs are boring. So can anyone see what's happening in that picture? I mean, I showed it to my family, and they just went, I don't know what's going on there. Yeah, he's seeing his reflection in a light bulb. It's very reflective. We're reflecting on light bulbs. We have a light bulb. You see where I'm going with this? This is a wonderful graphic. This is what my children do with their homework. It's so boring. So I'm going to watch the Avengers while I do it. Or can you think of some others we do to make things more engaging, more entertaining? You can eat, you can listen to music, you can text. Isn't texting the greatest homework helper? Guideline number 4, use conversational style and virtual coaches. I know it's really kind of two concepts, but press for time, and these just fit together so well. So here's a virtual agent. Does anyone know what that is?
Lost in Space.
Yes. Danger, Danger. Will Robinson. Lost in Space. What's his name? Robot. I was trying to remember, and I think they just called it Robot. So there are good virtual agents and there are bad virtual agents, and this image popped into my head. I thought it would be fun. So, and then there's good conversational language and there's bad conversational language. So let's talk about the benefits on guideline number 4 on bringing these together. Say that you were presented with this, and it kind of seems like Greek to you. It's about Greece. It's kind of a joke. and you look at that and you just go, oh, this is going to be dreadful. Oh, I mean, that first thing you see in the training, you go, I don't know anything about this, and this is just, you are already emotionally prepared for one bad day of training. But then something else kind of magically happens. A kind of a human face comes along and go, oh, well, I know all about humans. I'm most of my life has been with humans. And this is getting better, right? It's getting better. And then when they start speaking to you in a way that you understand, in a way that you can emotionally connect to, this is where the real magic happens. Did I say romance? The real magic happens. Magic is magic moment. But something gets activated. It has to do with social interaction, which is very engaging for us. We're all about social. I mean, social media, right? It's a big thing. It gets activated in our brain and we go, oh, this is a social thing and it's a learning thing. So this other concept is really interesting, mirror the job. And you can go several different ways with the research on this. I'm going to kind of just take one angle. When I said this to my wife, mirror the job, she goes, oh, that's so true. She's an aide at a school. And she goes, you got to show them how to come into work and just in the classroom, show them how to sit down. They just don't get it unless you mirror it for them. Well, this is a slightly different kind of mirroring. So let me look at these just two examples, one you've kind of already seen. What are the subtle ways that we're trying to mirror their work environment? Some aren't so subtle. So this one's pretty obvious, right? That is a cube at Select Help. That's what they look. We took all the clutter away. But how is this trying to mirror our work environment? It's really subtle.
Sort of like the cubicle.
Yeah. Look at D over here. That is Select Health carpet. And that's a Select Health whatever, and that's a Select Health wall color. And we just click, 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 and bring it into PowerPoint. You can just, angle that and bring in this graphic here. And if you need more carpet in front, then you just move this thing up, and it looks like you got more carpet. Anyway, it's really cool. You just kind of play around with this and kind of make it a little 3D. And subconsciously, this is what's really interesting. If you mirror the work environment while they're encoding into long-term memory, when they're integrating it into long-term memory, and now they're at that same environment, they're at work, and they need to recall the information, it seems to come out a lot better because it got ingrained, it got integrated in that environment. So it's like it's easier to remember some things when you're in the right environment to remember that. Oh, just being here kind of reminds me about that time that I was here last time, and I was here last time. And it kind of reminds me of that, but when I'm not in this environment, I don't remember. Well, we create those environments by trying to do everything we can. Sometimes just blank white could be improved with maybe some other kind of environment when we're teaching. It's something to think about. It's interesting how the research is showing to try to bring the environment in and how that all goes in there. Okay, so the other thing I wanted to talk about is feedback. So you get practice, and practice has to have feedback on the practice or it's mindless, right? We talked a lot about feedback in this room earlier, about communication. So when you get feedback, you can have what's called corrective feedback, and you can have explanatory feedback. Does that make sense? Corrective feedback would be, yeah, thank you, wrong. Yes, yes, no, right? And so it's good to know they got it right or wrong, but adult learners are so susceptible to learning when they're about to find out whether they got it right or wrong. In fact, it turns out adult learners are more susceptible to learning when they got it wrong. We're so paranoid about getting it wrong that they can show that you can give them a test where they'll get it all wrong and you tell them what the right answers are, and they'll remember better than if you gave them a test where they kind of got, they kind of figured out they got the right answer. All kinds of stuff. It's social learning. It's about being paranoid and having anxiety and all these kind of things that actually can work to our advantage, that we can learn from our mistakes. So don't be afraid of the negative. What a great time to say, in a classroom or a PowerPoint or in e-learning, and say, hey, you got that wrong, but let me explain to you why. And they'll be more receptive to learning when you do that. So transfer tests, they do these transfer tests and say, okay, based on what you learn, let's see if that knowledge can transfer to that test. And again, we see this explanatory feedback is much higher than just our corrective feedback. Oh.